Yesterday I talked about torture of my son and what was happening to him at state offices. I also talked a little bit about what happened after I was told to go back to Wenatchee and had to resolve the charge for supposed grand auto theft. And what happened with that. I think that since I talked about what happened with my son already, at least some of the things that happened to him, I would next like to talk about, continue with the explanation of where I was forced to live and the people that I was forced to stay with, and how I was pushed out of housing so that others could use me for research. Which really, again, as I say, I feel has been nothing more than a cover for hate crime. And so basically when I got back, I was staying with those three men on just, a completely platonic basis. There was nothing intimate with any of them at all. And then I tried to file a complaint, restraining order to report one of them. Then when I got back to Wenatchee, I met this person, Chris Rizzolo, and again, and I was incapacitated or definitely intoxicated. As I've said, I don't quite remember exactly how much I had to drink, and I'm not sure if it was past the point of just intoxication to incapacitation. I think that it was probably that, but I don't remember exactly the amount. And and after that, I really regretted that. That was not something that I had planned or that I felt really great about. And pretty much that's the last time I've been with anyone, in an intimate way of any kind. So that was in the summer of 2009. And I didn't kiss him, but, which he made a huge fuss about. But other things happened, and I just didn't care to, after I saw that he was interested in my going to jail, I didn't care to involve myself with anyone else after that. There were too many people who were turning out to be connected to the government in some way. And I don't like being used. And I don't like being targeted when I'm being set up to be intoxicated or incapacitated first. And really, all along, what I've wanted is my son returned to me. I haven't been looking for this great romance of any kind. I've been, a mother who wants her son returned. So, after that, I was then at that YWCA place. And as I say, the two women there who ran it were very suspicious. And as I say too, I thought it was really strange that Jill was trying to reinforce and firm up what the regular manager was telling me to do. She almost, even though she was very hostile and later kind of harassed me, approached me in public and harassed me and made fun of my situation, even though I think she's a very bad person, I almost think that this other person, Jill, was really feeding into it and trying to look like she was very innocent when she wasn't. And she was, for a split second, it almost looked like possibly the one woman was hesitating, but then Jill was trying to firm up, making accusations against me. So One time when I had been standing outside of that YWCA place, Chris Rizzolo drove over there to meet me, and while standing in the parking lot, I was standing right across from him, and I suddenly was being tortured. I didn't know if he had his hands in his pockets, and I didn't know if he had something on him or with him that he was using to do this to me. But he was standing so close to me, I just thought, how can, either he can't notice at all, or he's doing something and it's him. And I did notice, we were right next to the YWCA shelter. But that was the last time that I ever saw him. The last time I saw him, I was being tortured by him. Possibly. Because I think that he had something with him that, it was basically like little zaps of some kind. It wasn't like a taser, but it was something else. And actually several other individuals did the same thing later. And I have no idea how a group of at least 5 or 6 people could have something like this, like some sort of device to do something specific. Because all these different forms of torture have been using different kinds of energy, different kinds of aerospace defense industry, or handheld devices, that kind of thing. And I knew that this particular thing had to be something that was maybe handheld, because I had so many people come up to me and harass me and make fun of me while they stood in front of me, and then something like that happened to me while they were doing this. And it was a couple of men that did this, and then there was a woman. There were maybe more than one woman, but I remember one specifically. And basically, I guess that I did have one other exchange with him where I asked him if he would take me to drive me to this one place, and then I ended up not having to go there where I was going to be driving, or where I had to go. No, actually, he picked me up for something, and then he said he was going to drive me to a place that he was working on, is what it was. And then I saw him pass Jill, and I saw them give each other these kind of evil expressions of satisfaction, and I noticed all these people around us, like there was some kind of a game going on, and I felt very uncomfortable, and I felt scared all of a sudden, because this is right after, and right around the time that I had been told that there were death threats against me. And so because that was happening, I was nervous to go to his place where he said he worked, or this place that he said he was working on. And I kind of panicked, and I decided to get out. After I probably saw him and the look he exchanged with Jill, I wasn't comfortable going to a remote area with him. I mean, even if it was a house, like on some property. I thought about how he had wanted me in jail, how I had been targeted with some kind of technology while standing with him outside of the YWCA, and now he's going to take me to some property that I think possibly could have been wooded or had trees, and I just didn't feel safe, actually. So I asked him to take me back, and after that he never called me again. And then it was after that that I was kicked out of the YWCA place. And in Wenatchee, there are only a couple of places where you can even go for a women's shelter, and everybody knows that. So basically, if somebody wanted me to be vulnerable, all they have to do is make sure that when I didn't have any money, that I was not able to access a women's shelter. So that basically I was totally on the street. Either on the street or willing to accept housing from somebody connected to the military again. Because that's the only thing that ever turned up. Is basically I was forced out of normal situations, you know, when I had every right to just have a normal life and could have a normal, and would have had a normal life had these crimes all not been committed against me and against my son. So they took me to, trying to sit up a little bit higher because I don't like how my chin's getting cut off here. Just a second. That might be better, but I don't want this to look like a surgical thing either. And I just didn't feel like wearing the black one, and I didn't feel like wearing the cream colored one right now, so I don't want this to look like weird. This head covering to look like a medic scarf or hat. So after so basically, after I was at this YWCA and they told me I couldn't go there anymore, there were 2 different places left. And this one that was supposedly always available, they always told me that I could never stay there. They came up with one excuse after the other. The right person was never there. I was always told that I couldn't stay there. I wasn't eligible. It didn't matter what. I probably went there 5, 6 times, and every single time they made a huge deal about how I couldn't stay there. And it was, if it wasn't one excuse, it was another excuse. And actually, that homeless shelter specifically was the only one that had children. And at the time that I was trying to get my son back, if I had been at that shelter, even if I had been in a quote-unquote homeless shelter, because they allowed children to be there, there wasn't any reason why the state couldn't have placed my son with me again, regardless of circumstances, because that was a shelter that where children were allowed to stay with their mothers. And actually the other one was, there was one baby, but it wasn't very set up for children. Maybe there were 2 kids. For whatever reason, so in total, in that entire area, there were 3 very small shelters. One was the YWCA, which I was tortured at and got kicked out of. And for, you know, smoking a cigarette when they didn't have any sign that said I couldn't. And then the other one refused to ever let me stay there and always came up with an excuse. And then the third one, which is one that I went there, and then I found out that the woman who ran it was friends, very good friends with Michael Holt. The same woman who had done an illegal lockout, who lied and perjured herself in a court document by saying I held up a knife against her when I didn't, and who stole my hope chest and had police coming into her house so that they could pilfer through all of my personal belongings. And this woman who operated the other women's shelter had, before, I knew that she knew Michael Holt, because before Alvera left, Michael Holt told us that she was putting baskets together for a women's shelter. And she told us, I think the woman's name was Taria, possibly, but she told us the name of the woman, and she told us